I'm here to speak to you guys. Thank you for being patient. Before I start, I want you to answer 3 questions from me. Quick questions. Are we ready? Just give me a raise of hands. Okay. How many of you got into a fight in the last week? Raise of hands. Don't lie. I literally see 3 people raising hands. It could be with anyone, it could be with a friend, it could be with a family, it could be with a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, anybody at all. Raise of hands. Okay, now I see a little more. Okay. Question number 2. Did you say or do something that you deeply regret in that fight? Yeah? I see a few more hands. Okay. Now, how many of you believe that fights are bad for our relationships? That they can damage our relationships? Yeah, you believe that? What if I told you that fights can actually save your relationships and make them stronger than ever? They can actually bring you closer if you fight right. Okay? Before the end of this talk, I'm going to change your mind if that's what you believe. Give me a shot, okay? Now, before I go ahead, I want to tell you a quick story of a fight between me and my best friend. So, me and my best friend, we've been friends for about 10 years. And we rarely fight. In fact, we've only fought twice in the last 10 years. Until this one time, I was in my hometown, Bhilai, Chhattisgarh. I'm from Bhilai. And I was in my hometown for my brother's wedding. And I was on FaceTime with my best friend. And we were chatting and just passing time away. Suddenly the doorbell rings. And I go downstairs, open the door, and I see standing my childhood friend, my childhood school friend. And she's standing there. I'm naturally caught off guard. And almost as a reflex action, I cut the call. I don't make too much of it. I hang out with my school friend. We have dinner. Then I call my best friend back again. Doesn't pick up. I call him once more. Doesn't pick up again. I text him. Doesn't respond. Now I know something is seriously wrong. As a last shot, I give him another call. And it's almost like he picked up and he was waiting for me to ask him this. I ask, what's wrong? Why are you behaving weird? Why are you so cold and distant from the last, few hours? And he just blows up. It's like, how could you cut the call on my face just because your friend showed up? It's almost like I don't even matter. And in my head, I'm going, seriously? Over an accidental hang-up? And what started as a normal conversation just escalated into this full-blown argument with us yelling at each other in a matter of minutes. We both get too frustrated, we end the call right then and there. One whole week goes by, no calls, no texts, nothing. Radio silence. After a week, I end up calling him again as a last shot, as a, let's say like a last resort. Now this time, the only difference was I was intending to understand. I called him with the intent to understand. And I called him, and he's calmer, I'm calmer. I asked him, so what really hurt you? What offended you the most? And he goes, I'm so used to being a priority in your life that when your friend showed up and you just like hung up on me without even warning me, I felt so small, I felt so unimportant, and I felt like I didn't even matter to you, like I was not a priority to you. And that hit me so hard because the very reason that I cut the call on him without warning him is because I felt so comfortable with him. He felt like family. And you don't over-explain to family in my world. So what felt like neglect to him was actually coming from a place of love from me. And this is the most important first mindset change that needs to happen in the art of fighting right, of how we turn conflict into connection, is that behavior and intent, they don't always match. The biggest mistake that we make, especially in a fight, is assuming that how a person is acting is how they feel. That brings me to my first mindset change, which is look beyond behavior, especially when you're in a fight. This very beautifully ties in with a thought experiment that I first came across in one of my favorite books. It's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. If you have known me on Instagram and YouTube, you know that I keep recommending this book time and again and again and again, because it has practically changed my life. I read it first in 2018, when I personally was going through a very hard time in my life. The mindset shift that needs to happen is whenever you're in a fight with somebody that you love, you look at that person as their 8-year-old version or their 80-year-old version. Now, why we do that is when you're looking at somebody as their 8-year-old version, you're looking at the innocence of a child. And we are all just children in grown-up bodies. And when you're looking at the 80-year-old version of them, you're looking at the helplessness that is coming from their actions. How this mindset shift helps you is that it helps you look beyond their behavior and actually look at the intent. Where are they coming from? Oftentimes, when we are stressed, somebody responds to stress by acting out or lashing out. Somebody responds to stress by sitting with you and discussing it. Somebody responds to stress by just like going completely silent. So how we respond to this same external situation is so different based on where we are coming from. So if you're assuming that behavior is directly reflecting intent, then you're missing out on the real story underneath. Whenever you see a child throwing a tantrum, ek bachcha hai, and he's throwing a tantrum, you don't necessarily directly go that this kid hates me. No. You think maybe this kid is hungry, maybe this kid is upset, maybe this kid is stressed, and we're all just the same. That brings me to my next mindset shift, which is never take anything personally. Now imagine if you're, just for a second, imagine that I'm driving a car. I don't know how to drive, but just imagine that I'm driving, I'm stuck in traffic, and I've been stuck in traffic for the last hour, but I had a fantastic day at work. I naturally know that I'm going to be stuck in traffic for the next hour. I put my favorite music, and I'm blasting music, and I'm having a great time. Now, day number 2, I'm stuck in the same traffic, same route, same time, it's my usual routine. But I've had a terrible day at work. I've had an insanely terrible day at work. I hate myself that day. Now, naturally, I'm going to be extremely irritated and frustrated that I'm stuck in traffic, right? I don't want to be stuck here for the next hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to honk at everybody around me. I'm going to roll my windows down and yell at the guy in front of me. Now, the situation, the external situation was the exact same. Day 1, day 2, exactly the same. What was different was how I was feeling about myself on those 2 days. And based on that, my external reactions were being projected onto everybody around me. In day 2, was the guy in front of me at fault? No. Me yelling at him is not going to make the traffic move any faster. Right? He didn't do anything wrong, but I yelled at him. Why? Because I was feeling shitty about myself. What people say or do has much more to do with them than it has to do with you. And the moment that you have this realization, you jump into your next level of emotional intelligence. Now, the mindset number 3, and it has a spiritual aspect to it. Now, bear with me. Whenever you're in a fight with somebody that you love, that you care about, think in your head, maybe they needed this win more than I do today. What I mean by that is when I say a win, what is a win in an argument or a fight? A win is this feeling that what I'm feeling, the hurt that I'm feeling is validated. That's a win. Which is why we are constantly, what do we do when we fight? We bicker, we fight, we yell stuff at each other. Why? Why are we doing all of these things? Just so that I want you to know that listen to me, hear me out, understand me what I'm saying. That's what I'm attempting to do by yelling at you, right? But the thing is, no matter how much we love the people that we are fighting with, at the end of it, we want to have the last laugh. We want to have the last word, right? आप कितने भी close हो आपके लोगों से, जब आप झगड़ रहे हो उनसे, you want to have the last word. That no, you are wrong and I'm right. That's a win. Now, if you can switch your mindset from thinking like this to that maybe they need this win more than I need it today. And a win reflects relief. Any sort of nasty behavior, any sort of nasty comments, any sort of, when you're being mean and rude to somebody, your actions, your behavior, it is just an attempt to soothe your wound, your internal pain. It's an attempt to do that. And through that win, through that yelling and shouting, you're just trying to find some sense of relief, which is, by the way, escaping you anyway. So if I can look at the fight and if I can look at this entire situation, telling myself that they need this win more than me today, I will be much able to have this fight comfortably. I'm not asking you to justify their actions. I'm not asking you to justify their behavior. I'm asking you to validate their hurt. I see you. I understand. I get where you're coming from. Now, this is a little bit of a spiritual and a martyr / maternal, element to it. But this is the bridge between emotional reactivity to emotional mastery. Now, this is, by the way, not the most important part of this talk. What I'm going to tell you next is something of a little bit of an exercise that if you're in a fight with somebody that you love, that you go do it after done with this whole day. This is what I call the MIS repair method. What is repair? When we try to fix something. Now, fights don't really damage relationships. The lack of repair damages relationships. Fights are okay, but not repairing them is not. So the MIS repair method is a 3-question method where you sit with each other and you take turns answering these 3 questions. M stands for moment, I stands for interpretation, and S stands for solution. So the first question that you ask each other is, what moment hurt you the most? What moment offended you the most? Now, the reason or the agenda behind this question is that I want to understand what was your boiling point. I want to understand what are we fighting about. Because they could have been offended at a completely different thing and you could have been offended at a completely different thing. It is to get a clear picture of what this fight is about. What are we trying to solve? Question number 2 is interpretation. What was your interpretation of that exact moment? What looked like neglect and disrespect to my friend was actually coming from a place of love from my end. So same situation, 2 completely different interpretations. Question number 3, and the most final and the most important question, is solution. S, M-I-S-S is for solution. How and what are we going to do differently moving forward? Now that you've made peace with the past, now that you've made peace with what happened, now that you've understood what happened and where we are right now, the most crucial step is for us to come on the same page and agree on where and how are we going to move forward from here. So maybe next time I give him a warning before I cut the call, or maybe I call back and immediately apologize, or maybe he just understands that if I'm cutting the call, it's nothing personal, right? Most people avoid fights because we think that it solves the problem or it's going to damage the relationship. But avoiding fights doesn't solve the problem. Avoiding fights just buries them until it resurfaces in one of your vulnerable moments later on. And the problem is, when it does resurface at a vulnerable moment, maybe months away, days later, years later, you will have so many problems by then that you won't know where to start. So many problems would have accumulated by then that you won't even know where to start, and that is the point where relationships end. That is the point where people break up or your relationships deteriorate over time, because that is easier to do than to sit and unpack everything, that's underneath. And that has accumulated throughout the years. Relationships are like puzzles, and fights are like the missing pieces. Every fight reveals a missing piece, and if you fight right, you can actually complete the missing pieces, you can fill the gaps, and you can make your relationship stronger than ever, and maybe even make it last a lifetime. And then you have your own version of paradise. Thank you so much, and the next time you fight, think of me.